Clothing and textile wastage is a global phenomenon that is literally choking planet Earth. But who is the real culprit?
Hi everyone, we hope you've had a great week. Thanks for tuning in to our show Women Talk. I'm Deborah.
And my name is Zoraya, and today we're going to be speaking a little bit about fast fashion and its impact on the environment.
I mean, it's such an important topic, and I often think no one really realizes the huge impact that the clothes we wear have on our environment. And,
Not at all.
And I don't know, I feel like part of me feels that people don't actually want to talk about it because then it means you have to change.
I know,
what
because
you
we're
wear.
all a little bit guilty of
Yes,
it, right? We're
all
all
culprits.
Yeah, we're all culprits of it. But actually, 85% of all textiles make it into landfills every single year, which
is a lot of waste.
Exactly. So all of these items that we don't actually end up buying just go straight into the landfills.
Yep.
And even in Malaysia, I think 5% of our landfills are just filled with material and clothing.
Waste.
So
yeah, I mean, it can't go on like this, but it's just not sustainable. But we're very happy to have two amazing women with us today on the show.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. I can't think of two people more perfect, especially because you talk a lot about the right stuff, which is good for a talk show. But also you guys have had decades of experience in the industry from so many different aspects. Andrea, you are a creative director and fashion stylist, former editor-in-chief at Elle Malaysia and fashion editor at Harper's, amongst many other accolades.
Thank you.
Yes, and Nini, you are an advocate for slow fashion, a multi-artist, and I've actually watched you many times on Instagram promoting your amazing designs and textiles and just like bringing awareness to, I don't know, bringing back traditional patterns and something a little bit more elegant.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that.
Very talented, like you're wearing your art, right?
At the moment, sorry.
No, it's
no
beautiful.
clothes. See, it's like conscious collection kind of situation. That's all I have.
No, definitely. Actually, from watching you, it inspired me to want to wear things that were more locally made. Because I thought, gosh, I want to represent the beautiful talent that we have in this country, you know? So why not?
Oh, yay. At least my Instagram did some good somewhere.
So let's jump right in.
Great.
What is fast fashion? Do we really all understand it to begin with?
Okay.
You go.
I think I can take this one.
Okay, yes.
So let's take it back to the beginning. So fast fashion sort of came about in the 1980s. And in the broadest sense, it is inexpensive, trendy fashion items that are mass-produced at lightning speed. So what that actually did was it brought fashion and trends. Basically, you see people from every class engaging in fashion and trends. It became available and accessible. Because previously, fashion and trends were only accessible to the wealthy because textile and labor was expensive. And then, you know, you have, like, with the advent of technology, maybe, like, more inexpensive foreign labor, things can be produced a lot faster.
Right.
So, in a sense, fast fashion democratized trends. And that's not something to be taken lightly. It's great because fashion is a sense of self-expression, right? It's the best form of self-expression, in my opinion. So it's great to empower people in that way. But there's a reason why we're all here. They did too good a job
of empowering us. Well, because it's interesting now because people now walk into a store not just liking to see new things on the shelves, but expecting it. And if you walk into a store and you're like, what? There's nothing new? Well, like, what have they been doing for 2 weeks?
I mean, I think some of these brands actually overturn all of the items in their store like monthly.
No.
No, even faster.
Insanely staggering the amount. So this is not even a hyperbole. This is cited from Business of Fashion, which is a very credible source. One of the biggest fast fashion brands drop 500 new designs every week.
Wow.
500
week.
That's crazy. I mean, here I'm dropping like 6, and I'm like, oh my God, 500.
And weekly.
How big are their wardrobes? People's wardrobes.
So it's this vicious cycle, right? Because like the appetite for newness from the consumer has grown, but also because the fast fashion companies are, making it. Hello.
Hello, fly.
like creating so many new collections at a very rapid pace.
Nini, there's also this like mentality of every time you go out, you should wear something new and something different. You can never be seen in the same outfit twice. What do you think about this kind of mentality?
Where did we get this culture is what I'm trying to get at. Like, when did we get to become this society where it's like, I can't be seen twice? Even though I'm an Instagrammer or whatever, people see me posting twice in the same outfit, they'll think that I hadn't showered. So, you know, that type of thing. So how did we get like this, you know? This culture is quite Western, I feel, and it's, like you said, it's influences like a season culture kind of situation. So I think we need to address that too. The need to this insecurity of wearing something new all the time. Like I love wearing old clothes. Like my wardrobe is built based on my mother, my grandmother's clothes, and some vintage stuff. It goes way back. And I was taught.
And we have an example here today.
Yes, literally stolen from the boys. This is my dad's suit. You know, and I think this is like the best form, one of the best forms of sustainability, right? Because we're not accumulating clothes, we're keeping it like fashion rotation.
But I feel like a lot of Gen Z is moving into this vintage trend of buying secondhand
And you
stuff.
were saying it's a little bit more affordable for them. That's on one level, but also they're a little bit more conscious of the environment now. I find that I have a niece and nephew that actually love and enjoy going to bundles, and there's no shame in it. And I think that's a huge thing. But it's a particular Gen Z because I think the greater population still is quite
materialistic?
Yeah, and needs to wear the new thing.
Well, both of you here today, you're both in fashion, you're a designer. I mean, you're an artist and a designer. You worked at some of the top magazines. I mean, if anything, you both should be out there in a new clothes every other day, but you're not.
No.
But you still look cool, you still look trendy.
So yeah, actually we met. My first, you styled me for my first cover in Harper's Bazaar.
I
cover was editorial, and I remember
that was one of my first big shoots as well.
Yeah,
so
and here I am bringing all my clothes, my lengas or whatever. I do not have any fancy stuff, and I was like, "This is my grandmother's, this is my mother's," and she just paired it together.
I loved it. You know why? Because we were featuring you for you and your style and your personality.
Style.
We didn't want to throw you in the latest runway look and just remove that personal element. You know, you were bringing who you were through your clothes. That's what I was saying. Clothes is really the best form of self-expression. So when you talk and styling. So going back to the idea of like you can't wear the same thing twice. Change it up. Do a little bit of styling. Like I've worn this suit before without a belt. Just like a looser, oversized kind of look. You can style it with the belt. You can. You know, put this just on the shoulder and then show off like a different top inside.
And also, it's mindset as well. Like my mother taught me how to do it, you know, and she said, pair it with something unexpected and, you know, have fun with it. So I used to always love dressing up because it's like, what can I put together that no one else can?
It's all about creativity and how you... What you think of fashion.
Exactly. No, but I think that's the essence of fashion. It's being personal, it's making it your own. Right? But we're going to take a quick break now. When we come back, we're going to actually delve deeper into some of the statistics that Zoraya mentioned earlier, and to really see the real, very serious and sometimes very dark impact fast fashion is having on our environment.
Welcome back to Women Talk, where we are speaking today about fast fashion and its impact on the environment. Now, Deborah, did you know that it takes 3,000 litres of water just to make a single shirt?
That's a lot of water.
That's a lot of water.
Yeah, and in fact, this industry, the fashion industry, is the second largest consumer of water. And 10% of global carbon emissions come from the industry as well. So this is a serious...
It is.
I mean, it's just like being serious here. It has a huge impact on our environment. And do you reckon people even
are aware of it?
They're not even wanting to think about that. That's for them, that's a world problem. It's not my problem. You know?
It's somebody else's problem.
It's too big for me. I'm not using that. I don't even know what 3,000 litre is if you don't put it in context.
But you know, even if you were to ask me, okay, so what are the alternatives? Where should I actually buy from? I mean, I walk into any shopping mall and most of the shops that are there are all fast fashion.
And we're not trying to tell you not to buy clothes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We spoke about this. Like, I think we have to buy consciously now. Like, and what did you say, Deborah, about buy more, buy now?
Buy less, wear longer.
Yeah.
Vivian Westwood has it.
Basically, it's a mantra that I try to live by. It's short, easy, and snappy. So if we're thinking of like, facts and statistics that are like, whoa, that's hard for me to digest, just keep this in mind. Iconic British designer, Vivian Westwood, this is what she says, buy more, choose well, make it last. That really encapsulates everything. If you want to be a conscious, mindful shopper, that really does kind of encapsulate everything.
Because we're not saying down with fast fashion. We're not saying everyone close your shops tomorrow, like as you mentioned earlier. But we're just getting people to think a little bit differently.
Yes.
You can make smarter choices.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it is still your money at the end of the day that you're spending.
Yeah, so arm yourself with as much knowledge as you can, and then next time when you're, maybe rethink your shopping habits a little bit, and then next time you're making a purchase, when you have all this information, or just run this little mantra through your head, buy less.
But it's so convenient,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's so cheap, and it looks so good, and I'm getting ads non-stop on my Instagram, and I just have to click one button, and within a week it's at my front door.
So for me, a really interesting thing happened for me, and I think for a lot of people, and the industry at large as well, during the heat of the pandemic.
Okay.
We were all kind of stuck.
Yes.
And we couldn't do a lot of things. A lot of us were stuck at home.
Yeah.
It sort of made me reassess what I actually need. How much do I really need? I look at my wardrobe and then I realize I don't actually need a lot of this stuff. I don't wear a lot of this stuff. I always go back to my core wardrobe, which is that capsule, which is like your wardrobe staples, which I always love to advise my clients and women. Work on what your core wardrobe is. Figure out what your style uniform is. And when I say uniform, I don't mean like one outfit that you wear every day. It's just like identifying the things that you keep going back to. And then once you have that, you're armed with that knowledge. The buy less portion comes in, because then you're just buying things that you know that you will keep wearing, and not these impulse buys of like what's trending right now that you don't wear.
And also because it's okay to buy from a fast fashion brand. If it's a good quality, you can wear it in 5 years' time, you get good use out of it. I don't need to own 20 pairs of black pants, for example.
Exactly.
But Nini, let's talk a little bit about when we use the word cheap, because we used it a bit early on. When we say cheap, what does it actually mean in fashion? And maybe the ethics behind it, because a lot of the behavior is unethical, right? And then that inspired you to kind of create your brand. Yeah,
well, cheap is like you can get five ringgit pants, in every single color.
Someone's paying for that. Like it isn't free.
Some poor person, some factory with like 100 workers are making this, and you can produce this item for very cheap. So and of course the cost price for that would be 1 ringgit, and then you can sell it for 5.
Yeah.
And but then the behind the scenes of how they got to that, because I know I create clothes and make clothes, and it's not cheap when you pay the people fairly, when you pay and you take the time to understand where things are. It's not cheap. Even me going to buy material, that's a cost to go there. That's a carbon emission, right? That's a carbon footprint.
Do you see that slow fashion is on the rise here, and people?
I was going to say, I think, like at the end of the day, I'm sorry to speak over you, but I think it's about mindset, and I think fast fashion is going to be here. It's just the way the world is built, but I think consumers can tip the scale a little bit and have the option of slow and fast. So I think promoting the idea of slow fashion is the step forward to let people know that there is a consciousness, know where your things are made. I think that's a campaign that we need to start campaigning about, know where your things are made, understand that, and is it like fair? Are these people being paid fairly? Because that's what I'm trying to advocate with whatever that I'm doing. Number one, I'm a small business, so I can afford to do this. For a big brand that has like many 500 units or whatever that they're pushing out every 2 weeks, they can't. They're on a wheelhouse. So I'm slowing down the process so that we can have a thought. And even me as a designer, I'm slowing down my process to understand how things are made, So I'm doing 5 pieces. It's a capsule collection. It's non-trendy.
Yeah.
You can wear it anywhere. We're in Malaysia, so it's tropical.
Yeah, and
all my pieces are tropical. Yeah. I don't need to have fall winter, you know.
Yeah. But there's also
Yeah.
there's something so nice about wearing an item of clothing and being able to tell the story about where it's come from. You know, this is a piece that I bought in India or in Malaysia, and it was designed by an artist. You know, there's something so special. But let's talk a little bit more about this when we come back from the break. And after that, we're going to speak to Marina Yahya about some of her solutions for fast fashion.
Okay, many people don't know about fast fashion. Fast fashion is one of the biggest contributors for climate change. Part of the materials I use are plastic, synthetic, and also the usage of water. One t-shirt can actually fit about 60 people, a minimum. A lot of companies can do a lot of things by pushing towards sustainability, your product and what you can do in terms of contributing back to the planet, to the environment, to the humankind at the end of the day. You can do a lot of things of changing the habit of going shopping. You can look into swap or buying second hand. New doesn't mean that it's from a shop. When you get something new in your wardrobe, it's also new. It's not what you had maybe last week or last month, but something new that you got it from somebody else or you swap from somebody else. Changing the habit of new things in the house. You can swap stuff like from your kitchen, for example. If you're fed up of your kitchenware, you say, oh, okay, maybe I want to swap with my friends. And also a pre-love, it's something new on my body, but it's an old clothes. It's not bad, you know. What people are going through these days is vintage. Vintage is a new thing. So what is new? Vintage is old, but because it's new towards you, it can be fun. It can be different. So that is also good, going towards sustainability.
I think we've actually done a good job when we talk about zero waste in terms of food consumption. But when we talk about fashion and what we wear, the awareness and conversations, as you said earlier, Nini, are just not there. Yeah. And very often when we think of fast fashion, we think of these big brands, international brands, you know, that are churning out, as you said, like 500 new designs every week. But let's bring it back to local business, because local businesses too can actually be part of this fast fashion or be part of unnecessary waste. Maybe Nini, if you want to say a bit more.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, like having a consciousness of like, okay, it's a competition thing, Deborah. Like everybody wants to be the first to bring out stuff. So there's this insecurity about like I need to have a lot of things in my product, so you end up doing it. I was just looking at the reel just now, and we were looking at the amount of T-shirts that are also being printed out during campaigns like that. Yes. I think we can also play a role in trying to reduce that. When we do a campaign, do we need all that T-shirts being made? You know, do we need 500 scarves to be printed out, kind of things? That's what you're trying to get at. So yeah, I think we need to have more awareness of how we approach our business models, like you said.
And then I also think as consumers, you know, to try as much as we can to have a little bit more to hold these brands more accountable. You know, so there's this big social media sort of movement where the hashtag "Who Made My Clothes" is trending, right? So it's basically asking across the board of fashion, you know, where the supply chain, they're not transparent about how these clothes are made, you know, from like the sourcing of the material to like the factories that produce them into garments and even like the distribution networks, right? And even our local brands, you know, because if they want to make it at a cheap price, where are they sourcing from to sell that cheap?
Thanks for that, because you reminded me, like the local brands are actually producing stuff at such a high volume, and they're not doing it locally. They're actually using China. They're going out because they can make it cheaper, and they're using materials that are a lot cheaper as well.
Nylons, and polyesters,
so synthetic fabric.
so what about trying to produce it locally, which is what I've been trying to do with what I'm trying to do. And the pricing, my price point gets a little bit higher because I'm paying local prices.
But it lasts longer.
I hope. We can only hope. Yes, we can only hope that we're trying to do higher quality. We're paying the local seamstresses. We're paying the local printers. Malaysia can make good products. So, you know, back to whole made in Malaysia, that idea has to come back again, even for the local brands, I think.
Okay. And then there you're already reducing the carbon footprint because it's all made locally. So you're not doing a lot of this, like, you know, shipping back and forth.
And it's like what I said earlier, it's so nice to be able to wear something that has a story behind it and that actually makes you feel like you're wearing something special and handmade. It's so beautiful to be able to...
I'm only making things also using digital printing, right? But then don't let us not forget the artisans, the people who actually make batik, songke.
Amazing wax.
Yeah, and I think going back to what they can make and make sure that they are sustained as well in terms of livelihood.
And so I think it's essentially then it comes down to balancing, right? Balancing, supporting local, reducing our carbon footprint, but also then recognizing, as you said earlier, Andrea, it's that we need to make fashion accessible. People still, not everyone can afford to buy that item that costs this much, right? So still accessible. But I think ultimately it's about being conscious about our choices, our purchases, buying from brands that we know more of, and asking the right questions, because when your buying and consumption habits change, then the brands do too, right?
Exactly. Perfect. Don't just throw your money around. Be conscious of where that money is going, and maybe we can do something good.
Where did it come from? I think
ask the question.
And to recap Vivienne Westwood's quote:
buy less, choose well, make it last.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys, and we shall see you on next week's episode of Women Talk.
Thank you. Bye.